Hey guys, it's Roger Rose here, and welcome back to Our Life Now and Forever. Um, Class is kind of kicking my butt right now, but I still wanted to get something out to you guys, even though it's a bit late. It'll be a little short today, maybe 15, 20 minutes, maybe a little less than that, but we'll see. So let's get back into it. You took off your sweater too. You left your stuff on. I took off my sweater too. Not having your sweater on made you feel different. You weren't coming or going anywhere anymore. You were really staying there in the place for a lot of hours. But all you could do was find a hook pile to leave it behind on until later. Good morning and welcome, students. You glance over your shoulder. In the open doorway was another person for who you have to know. Her braids did match a few of the kids there, but she wasn't going to be sitting in the desk with them. She was twice as tall as everyone else in the room. That had been the teacher, Miss Murray. Her soft brown eyes looked down over you and your neighbors while she tapped a finger against her freckled, speckled face. The pattern on her skin was almost like stars, if the sky was light at night and the stars were the darker part. Her rosy pink lips parted into a smile. She inclined her chin towards Quay. Nice to see you here, Mr. Lynn. This will be a good year. Yeah. Well, Autumn stretched the word out as far as it could go, and at the same time he opened his arms wide. He turned his head away too. He had the kind of tone your mom would have when you were 6 and she agreed to eat the delicious dirty pies you made her. Squeakily cheerful and not real, he was trying to be nice and wasn't trying that hard. Though, when his eyes were rolling away, his gaze passed over you and got stuck there. A slight grin tugged at the corner of his mouth as the sound of his voice went from off-key to a lullaby. Maybe. Miss Murray's pencil-pointing eyebrows lifted. She blinked one time, and then her own smile grew. It was shared with you and Tamarack next. Hello, I'm your teacher, Miss Murray. I am right to say that you're Tamarack and Rose, correct? Yes, I'm Miss Rose Smith. Tamarack bopped her hands in the air and twisted into place to swing her bag so that it hung behind her back. Yes, I'm Tamarack. This is so great. Miss Murray spoke sweetly in a way that was just nice. It wasn't surprised or relieved to find out the answer. She probably didn't need to ask to know who you were. Teachers knew a lot. If you'd be so kind, would you mind coming over to my desk over there in the far corner? I'd like to talk to you two before class begins. Okay. Tamarack finally lowered her hands down to her sides. She still bumped her bag around by pushing it up and down with her butt. It clattered loudly and Miss Murray pretended not to hear. Yeah, that's something I would do. I took a step closer, curious. Thank you both. She gestured lightly with her hand for you to come and left the doorway. Otto turned his head to follow the teacher. More and more, his dark hair eclipsed your view of the rest of him as she walked away. When you lost sight of his face, there had been a frown on it. After she was really gone, he swung back towards you and Tamarack. Autumn was smirking then. Good luck out there. He tipped over one foot and bent his body way down. His other leg kicked into the air. He could balance better than a flamingo. Autumn slipped a hand under his jacket on a hook and also under Tamarack's scarf, which was still on top of it, and dug around in the fabric. He didn't come out empty-handed. He'd gotten a hold of his favorite notebook and pencil. Autumn slowly lifted his chest up and brought his one hovering foot down to the earth again. The whole thing was graceful, but he folded it by widely waving his notebook goodbye at you. And a paper fell out when he did it. Ah! Tamarack squealed, trying to talk, but too fast, so none of it was really words. She reached her arms to Quay graspingly, like she could pick him up and plant him back where he dropped his thing. That didn't work either. He stepped away on light feet, carefree, joining up with one of the groups at the desk. They all raised their heads and waved when he arrived. He was gone and the teacher was still waiting. Tamarack squinted her dark red eyes tightly. She directed her gaze towards you because it wasn't like anyone else in the room could understand her. You gave her a look back. I've always got to worry about him. Oh. You pick up the paper and peek at what it said. You made a beeline to the tan page on the dark blue carpet and snatched it off the ground before somebody could step on it, or it could blow away and get lost in the middle of the forest. Before putting it in your pocket, you read over the top side and flip it over to see the back. It is a list of food and other things. Maybe he was trying to remember stuff to get when he went to the store with his parents. You tuck it away in your pocket. It was taken care of. Tamarack pretended to be a jack-in-a-box like she did yesterday. This time it was by bending on her knees before bouncing straight. Fluffy locks of her hair shook around her cheeks. Come on, Rose. She skipped off to the teacher's desk, all smiles. You trailed after her lead. You didn't want to be left behind. Off in the corner on the other side of the room was the teacher's old dark brown desk. At least the very top woods was dark and the inner part was a lot lighter. You could see from all the tiny cuts and scratches over the surface. It was far away from the desk as it could be. You guessed that was so she could have some kind of talks without everyone else hearing the whole thing. Miss Murray didn't sit in the cool rolling chair that went behind the desk. She stayed in front and only leaned her back against the top edge. She got to talk to you and Tamarack gently because she didn't have to push her voice across the piece of furniture that separated students and teachers. I appreciate you coming to this meeting. I wanted to let you know a little about today and what you can expect for your first day. Why? Well, this class has a unique arrangement of the students, but you're the only two who have never attended this school before. Everyone else is simply returning after a summer break. I like to introduce you during a roll call later. I want you and all the other kids to know who you are. Oh, Tamarack flicked the buckles on her bag. They made a clicking sound, and when she hit them up, and they thumped when they landed back down. Her gaze moved around too. The meeting wasn't exciting anymore. You were relieved it wasn't only you. Tamarack was getting it too. Yeah. Two still wasn't a lot of students who had to do it, but it was a million times better than one. Miss Murray smiled approvingly at how you Tamarack handled that first assignment. I'll make sure it goes well. The teacher slid her hand across the desk behind her and spread her fingers out wide. In a couple of minutes, I'll be telling the class to take their assigned seats. You'll have those spots for the rest of the year. I made a seating plan already, but there is a bit of wiggle room to help you get comfortable if you like. Tamarack's hand flew from her bag to her cheek. That sounded like a smack. Does that mean me and Rose are sitting together because we're neighbors and friends? Was she right? You held your breath and balled up your hands into a fist, waiting to know if you get to be with Tamarack the whole year or not. A twinkle was in Miss Murray's eyes when she finally said what you were hoping for. You thought she might have paused on purpose to make it more dramatic. Yes, I can put you next to each other. Woohoo! It made Tamarack explode with celebration. She popped up on one foot, pulling the other up near her chest, and her arms went into the air. Rose, we're going to sit together. Yeah. Got something? We've got something. Anything else? Oh. Can Tamarack and I sit with Quay? They were both your house neighbors. Tamarack and Basic Autumn had to be your seat neighbors too. Miss Murray was really proper lady from what you'd seen. She didn't have one wrinkle on her fancy suit, but creases suddenly appeared around her eyes and mouth after she heard that. The line spilled out again. No, I'm sorry. I'm glad you were getting along with Autumn, but there were students who wanted to sit next to him last year and didn't get to. It's their turn now. Your eyebrows went up so high you almost could have lost them. That many people wanted to sit by Quay. It was kind of rude to hear the teacher, but you had to turn your head right around to look at the guy you've been talking about. He was leaning over a bunch of desks from before and still talking to those other kids you didn't know. There's a big smile on every face. You tilted your head back where it came, but not all the way. You only moved it enough to look at the side instead of Tamarack. Her gaze was directly straight at you, too. She gripped the strap of her bag, was weighted against her chest. Since the day you moved in, it has been just the three of you and your cul-de-sac, even if the day you moved in was yesterday. It was the same group, you, Tamarack, and Autumn, neighbors. But you weren't in your neighborhood anymore. On the outside of the street, Tamarack was exactly like you were and Quinn wasn't. You and her were strangers in the Golden Grove now. You didn't know people, and they didn't know you. Autumn had never been there before. And it wasn't only that, you already learned something on your first day of school, that Autumn is popular. Wonder how you fit in. Yep, I wasn't gonna let this change things. The three of us were still friends. That's what mattered, not what other people thought of your friends. Not looking at her didn't stop your teacher from trying to talk to you. Rose, I'm sure once you're in your seat, you'll get used to it. Soon you won't want to be anywhere else. And if not, you can come talk to me about it. Yes, Miss Murray. She didn't talk the desk up anymore. It was going to have to win you over on its own or not. So, Miss Murray had to wait for you and Tamarack to stop your shared stares of surprise, and then she pointed across the room to a couple of desks near the back that were side by side. Those are yours. Tamarack is the closest to the wall, and Rose's. Yours is next to that one. Window seat, window seat. Gonna sit at the window seat. Tamarack happily sung herself a simple song about her brand new desk. Besides the roll call, there won't be any surprises. It'll be a regular, easy first day of class. Thank you for having a chat with me. You can take your seats. Tamarack's cheeks inflated, and she pushed a smile between the two balls of air. Okay, let's go, Rose. Bye. The teacher stayed resting up against the desk while you and Tamarack went towards your own seats. Tamarack sent quickly excited glances from the desk, then back to you over and over as you walked towards them. She chattered about how it was going to be fun being right next to each other, all things you could do during the year. She beamed so bright it was like her sparkly golden hair made the sunshine that filled the room. You counted every one of your lucky stars, and you didn't get to put them somewhere else. A clap and a call came from where you just left. Attention student, class is starting, take your seats. Just like that, she said she would. Miss Murray has begun the lesson. You were right in front of your assigned group of desks when she said it. The red plastic chair Miss Murray had pointed out before you, probably really old, but it was brand new to you. You pulled it out from the tables and gave sitting it in a try. Hard, cold, and slippery smooth, and the back part wasn't straight. It bent away from the bottom of the seat part. It felt like leaning against the top of a shiny slide on the playground. If you weren't paying attention, you might fall right off. Maybe that was the point. That was a way to keep the kids focused. Tamarack was right there next to your left, by the wall and the window, just like she wanted. Past her, you could see the rustling treetops outside, with her golden fall leaves all bunched together. They kind of looked like Tamarack's fluffy hair, not all sparkly. She plopped her huge, jingling pack on the desk, and the actual bag barely fit, and she had a bundle of strap on the top, so it wasn't sneaking over into anyone else's workspace. The tips of her rain boots were pressed against the dark blue carpet, and she tapped her heel together. It made the shoes squeak. She was excited for her own little place in the room. Rose, we're gonna be right here for the rest of the year. Yep, and I've got the best seat, neighbor. Tamarack patted her hand against the thick fabric of the bag and giggled in time with the hits. She stayed pretty busy making a beat. You glanced out the room ahead of you, where important boards and teachers were. Autumn was there too, in the very first row of seats. It wasn't the same spot he'd been in before when you saw him talking to some people, But those other classmates he was sitting with were just happy to have him there. He was hanging one of his arms across the top edge of his chair, was settled in so snugly he looked like a heavy blanket that had been thrown over it. He moved his head to the side to rest his cheek against his outstretched shoulder. Autumn somehow made himself a seat even more relaxed. When that happened, he noticed you behind him. Autumn firmly pressed down his eyebrows and pushed his mouth open a little. He wasn't there when you learned you and Timrak would be together, and he wouldn't be there with you. Now he found out. He only looked that way long enough for him to notice that you had noticed his expression. Then your friend, house neighbor, and not seat neighbor sweetly smiled instead. Autumn, Dee's brown gaze darted over to Miss Murray, directing your attention to her. His eyes kept moving right into a dramatic roll that went all the way around. It wasn't hard to imagine him saying, "Teachers, huh?" or something like that. For a minute, you could picture what it would have been like if he had been right next to you. But he couldn't face you forever. It was class time, and you were left staring at the tiny ponytail on the back of his head again. Well, I'm going to go ahead and cut it here. I thank you for joining me on this short Mushy Monday, but hopefully next Monday we will have a full video. Again, class is kicking my butt, but it's so much worth it for what I'm wanting to achieve out of a career. So thank you, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.